Um, and I just really wanted to know, why people get so invested and where is the line between admiration and obsession? Welcome back to Unfiltered Yaps. If this is your first time, thank you so much for joining me. This is the podcast where we show up for ourselves and for each other. I'm your host, Shanae. And as always, we're going to keep it honest, we're going to keep it messy, and we're going to keep it real. With that in mind, I would first like to apologize for there not being an episode last week. If you didn't see my post, I put up, you know, an Instagram press release basically just saying, it's just me doing this podcast. And by that, I mean recording, editing, making social content, like posting to YouTube, like everything that has to do with this podcast. It is just me running it. And as you guys know, the other week I had like a health thing. And so there's been a lot of things happening in my personal life that was taking time away, taking time from like the time that I would usually spend on this podcast. I had to take that time and like do other things with. And so I didn't want to half ass an episode for you guys. And I thought, the best thing to do would just be to not do the episode and come back the following week. And so, with that said, I also want to announce there has been a restructure to the pod. And what I mean by that is originally my hope, my dream, my goal was to do this for you guys every week. Um, and truth be told, again, I'm just a girl. It's just me. And so I am pivoting to like a seasonal structure of the podcast. And so we have today's episode, we'll have two episodes after that. And then the podcast will be on hiatus until the beginning of 2026 for season two. I know that is surprising to some people, potentially. But, you know, I can't be an advocate of mental health and everything that coincides with that, like all the different topics I talk about, and not also prioritize my own mental health to continue to do something that I love and that brings me so much joy. And so I hope you guys, bear with me during hiatuses. That does not mean I won't be active. Please be sure to follow the podcast on social media. Please be sure to follow me personally on social media. I will still be active in that way. I just won't be dropping a new episode every week the way I've been doing since launch in August. Um, and so, yeah, I hope you guys don't mind. I hope you guys stick around. I hope you guys continue to engage with me because I do love doing this. I do love speaking to you all. It definitely feels like, a cute little community that I'm growing, that we're growing together. And I just, again, had to be honest. I had to keep it honest. I had to be a little messy and I had to be real with myself and real with you guys. And I just hope that you stick around. With that said, today's episode, we're going to be yapping about parasocial relationships. And for anyone who doesn't know, those are typically like one sided relationships with people typically like online. So think of a celebrity, think of an influencer, an actress, things of that nature. Um, and I just really wanted to know, why people get so invested and where is the line between admiration and obsession. The reason I made this an episode topic is because I'd noticed there was a lot of things happening like pop culturally with like Cardi and Nicki and all the rap girls just arguing and like the intensity of which people defend but also attack the opposers is just so mind-boggling to me. And so I wanted to talk about it. And so this week the question of the week was, what's your opinion on parasocial relationships? Someone said parasocial, basically paying emotional rent to someone who doesn't know I exist. 1010 would recommend for popcorn nights. Now, I thought this was funny. I wanted to include this to like make, light of this as much as I possibly could. But I'm not gonna lie. When the girls was arguing, some of the funniest tweets that I saw were from, these parasocial fans. Like the jokes, the memes, it's funny. Um, when you don't step over the line and really think about how deep that type of relationship is. But that person is right. 10 out of 10. Like I really do get some laughs from you guys. What's your opinion on parasocial relationships? Depends on the context, the level of engagement, and how it affects someone's daily life. There are a lot of different kinds of levels of parasocial relationships. My opinion about it would depend on the particulars. I thought this answer was not an answer, but also an answer. And so I wanted to include it because I do agree. I think there is a line of what is healthy and what isn't healthy and how it impacts and all of the things. And I think the point of this episode is to unpack that together, um because not that I'm no huge influencer or creator or whatever, but um I'm engaging in a parasocial relationship right now by making this podcast, by putting myself out there, by making content that I'm putting on social media for people to see and engage with and pick apart and obsess over or whatever the case. And so I also want to make sure that I'm taking responsibility for the relationships that I'm creating. And so I thought that while this answer was very vague, that it was a good kind of standard for us to be thinking about, for ourselves when we're thinking about these parasocial relationships that we have, that we're creating, etc. What is your opinion on parasocial relationships? People are sometimes weird to me because of me being a public figure to some extent. The person who wrote this said that they are a journalist and a podcaster. It can be very uncomfortable when they don't seem to realize how parasocial our connection is. I, again, included that because I am a podcaster. I'm podcasting. I'm, trying to put myself out there to um, grow a brand, a community, whatever, that I'm doing with this. And there's a podcast that I listened to, and the guy was basically talking about how it's interesting for him to like, because he feels like he's a regular person. And I think, especially when it comes to like creators, a lot of creators probably do feel like they are regular people. And I don't mean like not someone who's an actor, an actress, a singer, a rapper, a musician, like whatever. Like, I think those people, and not that there isn't a process that they have to go through to like realize that they are no longer a regular person, because we all start off as regular people basically until we're known. But I think though in that field you're going into this knowing that like I'm doing something that is going to bring a lot of fame and attention, whereas a creator, I think in today's society it's very much like this is something I'm into and I'm like sharing my thoughts, opinions, feelings, etc. about this niche that I make content in, or like whatever their reason is, some of it, yes, is to be famous, is to have money, is to like monetize. But again, I don't think the same kind of process is there where it's like I'm going from a regular person to a famous person. It's just like, no, I'm a regular person, and like more and more people every day are like following you and sharing in your life. And basically, this podcaster was saying that like he goes to like the store, and people will like see him and kind of like get nervous or like get giddy because they see him, they recognize him. But to him, it's just like he's a regular person. And he was saying how like it's hard to kind of balance that. He also has like a wife and kids, and is balancing what it means for him to be a public figure and then to be in public with his family. And again, the parasocialness of it all is like you as the fan aren't thinking about them as a you don't see them as a regular person. And I think that is kind of where it starts to get a little unhealthy and uncomfortable for the person that you have this relationship with. The next answer here is, in the realm of social media and celebrities specifically, I think they're incredibly harmful. I think the idolization of celebrities and influencers have created a false reality. When you idolize anything, it innately influences your behaviors and actions, even if you're unaware of it. People have created an image of what people should look like, act, dress, etc., based off of curated and sometimes outright fake content. I think celebrities and influencers are treated as if they are movie characters. People don't really categorize them as real people. I think it's extremely dystopian. I think dystopian is such a good way to describe this phenomenon because again, this person like is basically saying the same thing that I was just saying. Because and I'm a fan of people, and so I understand and I see myself like I have these parasocial relationships, and I try to pull myself back, especially if I'm not that I'm like stalking or like, but sometimes I notice like, why do I know this information? Why do I have this much information? And try to like back myself away from the relationship because I don't know this person. This is a regular person who just happens to also have fame. And something about it just gives you so much more access to someone's life than like you should have. Like, I see videos all the time that are like, "Oh, this is, so and so's new property." And it's like, "How the fuck do you know? Like, why did you find that out? How did you find that out? Why are you sharing that information with other people?" I think about how like a lot of celebrities will have like stalkers because they just these people feel so these people feel so like they have such a right to this information, to these people. I think movie characters was the perfect way to talk about it as well, because I think there's a lot of disassociation between the person having this relationship, and there's so much disconnect between the person having the relationship and the kind of persona versus the actual person. I think, when we think of artists, especially the ones that have stage names, it's like, oh, I know BTS, or I know Cardi B, or I know Nicki Minaj. I know, you know, I don't know who's another. I can't even think of another artist with like a stage name right now, but like you feel so much like you own these people, but like that's a job. Like Cardi B is a job. Nicki Minaj is a job. And at the end of the day, I'm sure these people like I don't want to say take off the suit because like the lines do intersect, but like they're not Cardi B 100% of the time. They're not Nicki Minaj 100% of the time. It is a role in the plethora of the in the makeup of who they are as people, and it's just like that's the one part that they give you. You don't know all of the other parts, and you're also not entitled to them. And so the parasocialness is interesting. What's your opinion on parasocial relationships? Honestly, I just don't get it. Like, I have never experienced anything like that, so I don't really have a good frame of reference to make a good judgment on. So I'm basically like, well, that's a bit unusual, but okay, unless it's negatively affecting someone's life. Um, I When I personally think of like a parasocial relationship, I typically think of like a stand. So I think of the beehive, I think of the barbs. Like again, the way they are get so visceral, so worked up when it comes to defending and honoring and I don't I am sure it's always been this way. I'm sure it's always been an intense relationship, but I definitely think social media has like amplified it even more because now you have even more direct access to your faves. I think in the past it was like, you wrote a fan letter, you would hope that the response you got back was from the person. A lot of the times it was like someone at a label or something, someone at like a agency or something putting, signed autographs into an envelope, mailing it back to you. You are getting all your information from tabloids, and was some of it false? Absolutely. But now you can like see celebrities post in real time, and I don't mean real time as in like they're posting where they are right now, but like you don't have to wait for a tabloid to come out for you to see what that person is doing because they're talking about it themselves on social media. And so I think it creates this illusion, like of in even falser pretense that you know them, that you're close to them. Um, the part about being like that's a bit unusual. I agree. Again, I think of stands, and I think Eminem did not know the impact of the song he was making when he made the song Stan to now today people calling themselves stands. Like I seen this it is irrelevant to the topic. I seen this video where this woman was talking about like how literacy is dropping because people are not comprehending. I don't think people were comprehending the message Eminem was trying to get across when he made the song, to then now take that and be like, I'm a stand. Like, no, that's not a good thing. It wasn't a good thing when he talked about it, and like to just flip it and reclaim it and turn it into like, no. A, a stand was basically, a stalker, someone who was obsessed, like obsessive over getting in contact with, being around, knowing everything about a particular person, and to be like, yeah, I'm a stand, like, no, sweetie, that's not healthy. And it is negatively affecting you even if you don't realize it. Okay, and the last answer here is I don't think they should exist. We will never fully know anyone based on the content they choose to provide us with. That being said, I do have one, and it's with my favorite podcaster, but I've never interacted with them online. In my head, they're my besties. Now, I hope this is the type of parasocial relationship y'all carry on with me. Like, I'm not saying not to have any online interactions with me, but I am saying that, like, to me, this is healthy. Like, of course, I listen to you every day, and or once a week, or however often you post. And so, yes, I feel connected with you because maybe you speak about things that I resonate with, but I've never interacted with you. I've never tried to message you, you know, for example, I offer you guys listener letters, but I'm not expecting one person to write in every single week trying to get my attention, because that is unhealthy. But if you're like, hey, actually, I do have something, and I like the style of advice that you give, and I like the advice, that I hear, the way you talk about topics resonate with me, or something like that, then, like, cool, interact. But to be doing everything in your power, to be sliding in the way I see people DM celebrities, creators, influencers, and have whole conversations with themselves is unhinged. And so I think there is and should be a balance to these type of relationships. And so I don't really have a personal story to share, because I personally don't engage in these type of relationships, or, like I said before, I try not to. When I start to realize I know too much information about a certain topic, about a certain celebrity, then I'm side eyeing myself. But for the most part, like, I don't have these relationships because I agree. I think they're scary. I think there's a difference between having a celebrity that inspires you. I love Beyonce. She inspires me. Her work ethic inspires me. It is heartwarming to see a black woman, a woman of color, break barriers. And, like, am I a singer? No. Am I a dancer? No. But it inspires me to break my own barriers. How can I show up for myself in that way? How can I be the best at what it is that I'm doing? But I'm not, and this is no hate to the Beehive, please. But, like, I'm thinking about how when Becky with the good hair came out, like, they was putting bees in, and everyone's comments, Beyonce herself was even like, "Hey, fans, love you guys, but, like, let's be a little nicer." And they told her, "Ma'am, shut the fuck up, please." And so it's like, to me, that is so parasocial, to, like, tell the person you're a fan of to be quiet, because you're going to continue to carry on the way that you've been carrying on. And I just personally don't think it's healthy. And I'm, again, please don't come swarming at me. I'm not trying to offend any of the stan, groups, but, like, I also just want to make sure that, like, you guys are doing this from a healthy place, that your world is not revolving around any other person really besides yourself, or, like, your family, or your children, or your spouse, or something, like, because it's scary. It's scary. It's scary. And I don't know. And like I said, I'm a podcaster now. I'm a podcast girly. I'm creating a community and an audience, and I feel like I have a responsibility to make sure that I'm engaging with you guys in a healthy way, and that you guys are also engaging with me in a healthy way, and, like, that I am protecting myself, not because I have a huge audience, but, like, maybe one day I could. And if I start having healthy habits now, then that will be beneficial for you and I later on. there's a influencer I follow, and she was posting a video about how she's moving, and um she used to share the her view from her apartment, and in her new place she doesn't want to do that because she had a scare. She was on a brand trip, and long story short, somebody came to her hotel and like was like, "Oh, so like call her and let her know I'm here to drop off, such and such to her." And they called this woman, this influencer, from her room. She went downstairs for it to be this person, and like she said that the lady wasn't, insane or anything, but that could have gone very left. And so that then made her think about like how often she shares her views. The woman had said to her, you posted and I knew you were at such and such store, and so I went to that store, but I had already missed you. And the influencer was like, she doesn't post in real time. That picture was from the day before. But imagine if it wasn't. And I get it. It's not the same because that woman in particular was kind of like hustling to like sell her brand. And so I get it, but at the same time, it's still a parasocial relationship because you know this person from social media because of the type of content that they do. And to think that it is okay to, like, I feel like there's a loss of judgment sometimes when it comes to these parasocial relationships because you are so leaned in a way that these people are not, like, they're not leaning into, like, you guys are not leaning in to meet each other. Like, you are leaned in following everything that this person is doing, and they don't know you from a fucking hole in the wall. And so I think that's the thing that I want all of us to keep in mind when we're engaging. I want you guys to keep that in mind when you're engaging with me. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, please, I want to hear from you guys. I want, to hear that your opinions. I want to hear that you liked an episode. But also don't be fighting nobody in the comments for me or like, threatening to beat people up on my behalf or like doxing people on my behalf because you know what it never was that serious. Um, and so my advice, um, the big takeaway I think from all of this is that I don't think it's about eliminating parasocial relationships. I think it's something that's existed before. It's evolving now because of social media. I think it's more important to be mindful because there's nothing wrong with being inspired or admiring someone, using that as fuel for your own life to get where you want to go, be who you want to be. But it's more about not losing yourself in someone else's story. At the end of the day, we all still have to be people. We still all have responsibilities. And if you need to get lost in someone else's world, I would encourage you to find someone to help you talk about that and talk about why it is that you need that comfort because it could be something deeper happening for you. Um, I don't have uh, a listener letter this week, unfortunately. So please, we have two more episodes. Please, if I could get a listener letter, one more listener letter before the season ends, that would make my whole 3 months that I've been doing this. I would love that. I would eat that up. Please, just someone ask me anything. Send an email to unfilteredyaps@gmail.com. Ask me anything. A couple of episodes ago, someone asked me about babies. I don't have kids, and I still did my best to answer and leave and give advice. And so I implore you guys to send me an email, ask me anything. I'm here for you guys. Just one more letter before the season is over. The journal prompt for this week is: how do I want people to engage with me when I share pieces of myself online? Um, and just because you aren't a creator doesn't mean that you aren't sharing pieces of yourself online. I think we all got them followers who are following us, especially if you've been on like Instagram since the beginning of time. We all have those followers who like we don't know but have been following us for forever, or like just people who maybe you don't interact with as much anymore, or people that you know you you met in passing. Like all of these people are seeing you and have some level of parasocial relationship. And so, how do you want people to engage with you um online? And with that, we have reached the end. Thank you so, so much for yapping with me. Thank you so, so, so much for being patient with me. I had to get this episode done for you guys. Again, I love chatting with you all, and it really brings me so much joy to do this. And I really want to give you guys, the last two episodes, like great episodes, three if we want to count this one, but like give you guys really good content for the remainder of the season, and just show up and show out with you guys. And yeah, if you want to follow the podcast, be sure to follow at Unfiltered Yaps. And if you want to follow me personally, please follow at Shanae's Got Yaps. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, leave a review. It really helps the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe to my Substack. I post all the journal prompts. I post listener letters when I have them, like everything that I've ever discussed, any resources I've ever shared, like all of that is on my Substack, all for you to access, for you to get inspiration from to write your own responses to journal prompts. So please also subscribe to that. And you also get an email in your box. You also get an email in your inbox whenever I post something to Substack. So it's an easy way to keep up with me when new content is out. Um, and so, with that said, thank you guys so much for yapping with me. I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.